This is going to be a video on how to create a data set in Proxmox if you are hosting Proxmox on a single RAID array and you don't have a dedicated host drive such as an SSD hosting the Proxmox hypervisor. So what you're going to see when you first boot into Proxmox is two logical volumes. They're going to be local LVM, and you're only going to have access to your root directory, your root logical volume when you go to create ISOs. So if you were going to go to upload an ISO, you'd have to upload it here, and that's only 90 gigabytes in my case. Might be less or more for you, but it's not your full RAID array. So ultimately what you're going to see when you create a VM is go to next, and the only thing you're going to have is this 93 gigs or whatever it may be for you, but you're not going to have your full data set. It's not going to be an option. I'm going to show you how to do that. So what you're going to have to do is you're actually going to have to open up a console. Or a shell, I think, yeah. So you're going to open up a shell, and you're going to have to create a partition, and then you're going to have to add a file system to that partition, and then you're going to have to mount that partition, or else Proxmox is not going to be able to read that data set when you go to add it. So, just going to LVS. So if you do a logical volume show, you're going to see that this data logical volume is not mounted. This O right here means it's mounted. This will not be here. So to mount that, it is going to be located, well, you're going to have to do fdisk. So fdisk dev, well, I'll show you real quick, VGS. PVE is the volume group, so you're going to do fdisk, dev PVE, and then was it data? So that'll open up the fdisk utility. You're going to press D. There might not be a partition, but do it just to be safe. Delete the partition that's on there. Then you're going to add a new partition by pressing N. I'm not going to go through this because I've already done it, but you can just keep the defaults. Just press enter, 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 and then you're done. All right. Exit. Oh, sorry, quit. So now you've created a partition. Now, if you do an ls block, there'll be a part. Well, I guess not. It doesn't matter. We're going to be editing this right here. We want to mount these two logical volumes here, which is in the data LVM. That's where they're. So now you are going to you're going to have to add a file system to that partition that you just created. So I do ext4, so it would be this command, and then dev pve data is where it's stored by default. So you press enter. That's going to allocate a file system super block, and it's going to basically create all the drive sectors and make a file system. Okay, now you have a file system and you are able to mount that file system. So to mount it, you are going to do cd mounts. So go to this directory and create make dir data. Make a folder that you can mount it on. So after you make that folder, you run, that command, make dir data, run that, and then after you run that, you're going to run mount dev pve data, and you're mounting it to mount data, boom, and then you're done. Now if you run a LVS, you'll see a little O here, and if you run an ls block, listing block devices, you will see that these are now mounted on that folder that you specified. So now you go back to Proxmox, go to data center, directory, ID, I just named mine data because that's what I named the label inside of the Linux shell, and then you do mount data. That's the path that we mounted that data on, and then boom, you're done. Now you have a data partition here a storage block, and you can upload, you can upload your ISOs here, select your file, click your ISO, and then just click upload, and it'll upload your ISO, and then you can create a VM, and yeah, so you'd pick data. This will show up here now when you go to create a VM. Originally it was just this 93 gigs, but now you'll also have all that other space too that wasn't allocated. And then you just go through this and make your VM. You should know how to do that. And that is pretty much it.